Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the No DQ live recap of Friday Night Smackdown for March the 26th, 2021. Today is the 20-year anniversary of WCW being sold to WWE. Well, actually, the 23rd was the day that it was announced. 26th was the final episode of Monday Nitro, and then Shane McMahon, during the simulcast, the Raw and Nitro simulcast, Shane McMahon appeared on Nitro and announced that he had purchased WCW, which of course was kayfabe. WWE, Vince actually purchased WCW. A really surreal day, March 26th, 2001, the end of an era. Wrestling was never quite the same again without WCW. We still had hope though. When Shane McMahon showed up, people were like, well, maybe this is a good thing for WCW. Maybe WWE will build up WCW again, even though both companies were under the same umbrella. WCW as a brand could be rebuilt, and we could have years of back and forth interpromotional matches and storylines. And yep, it all fizzled out by the end of 2001. Anyways, enough talking about the past. You're all here to get my thoughts on Smackdown, as we are very close to WrestleMania now, just over 2 weeks away. So let's get started. We had a recap from Fastlane with the Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns match and the situation with Edge basically costing Bryan the match. Bryan came to the ring, a man on a mission. He said everybody saw the reality of the situation. Everybody knows the truth. He said that Roman Reigns is alive. However, Roman Reigns did tap out at Fastlane. In a perfect world, Bryan would be Universal Champion. He would be headlining WrestleMania. Bryan said he's had enough of standing on the sidelines. He earned his championship. He earned the main event of WrestleMania, and he is willing to earn it all again. He wanted one more match with Reigns for the title, and he said he was not leaving until he gets it. He sat in a chair. We had a commercial break. When we came back from the break, Adam Pearce arrived and said that he cannot give Bryan a rematch. The next Roman Reigns match is going to be versus Edge at WrestleMania. So Bryan proposed a match where the winner at WrestleMania immediately faces Bryan for the championship. Pearce said that would not be fair to Reigns and Edge. And Bryan was like, well, you let that happen at Elimination Chamber when Bryan had to win the chamber and then immediately face Reigns. So Bryan had a new proposal where he would face the winner of the match on night 2. The match between Edge and Reigns would take place on night 1, and then Bryan would face the winner on night 2. So they're separate nights. Edge appeared. Edge was tired of this. He said every match could be his last match. This is his dream, and Bryan wants to take it away. Bryan just wants to pick up the bones. And Edge once again brought up how he won the Rumble. Bryan was in the Rumble. Bryan lost twice to Roman Reigns, once at Elimination Chamber and once at Fastlane. And Bryan just doesn't deserve it. And Edge called Bryan a son of a bitch. Bryan attacked Edge, but Edge got the upper hand with a spear and then hit Bryan with a steel chair, furthering his heel turn or tweener turn, whatever you want to call it. TJS with a $3 super chat, first one of the evening. I know a lot of you are very opinionated on this whole twist in the WrestleMania story, so I will get to some of these super chats and comments. TJS says, do you feel bad for Edge, Daniel Bryan being a whiny a-hole? I really don't. The way this storyline has played out, I feel bad for Bryan. Edge ultimately did the wrong thing in character at the pay-per-view when he laid out Bryan with the steel chair instead of being the fair enforcer. he was there to make sure there were no shenanigans, and, well, he failed, and Bryan got screwed. But yeah, I know a lot of people are like, well, Edge did win the Royal Rumble, and yeah, but Edge kind of became a dick, and that led to Bryan getting into this situation. Johnny Boy with a $5 super chat says, man, the story with these three is awesome. Can't wait for Mania. I've seen a lot of people very excited about this storyline, and others are like, it should have been one-on-one. We'll see how things play out at WrestleMania. We'll see what WWE's end game is with all this and where they're going to go. But it's certainly interesting now. It opens up possibilities, and we'll talk more about it here in a few minutes as we get through this recap. And by the way, everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you're enjoying this video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe and tell a friend. Spread the word. WrestleMania is coming up. I'm going to be doing 17 straight nights of coverage. And by the way, a $1 super chat, now that guy can be blocked. I'm not going to be saying his username. Nice try, though, and thank you for the super chat. It's always a Canadian dollar, too, so some guy in Canada really has nothing better to do with his time. But moving on here, 17 nights of live streaming. It's going to be crazy. Make sure you follow No DQ and the YouTube channel. And this Sunday, it's going to be a big day for No DQ. Super Slam Sunday, a new Wrestling Trivia Challenge quiz game. I'm bringing back No DQ&A. Make sure you send in questions. I'm looking for your questions. No DQ MISC at gmail.com. Send me your questions. I will be answering them on nodq.com. And I will be ranking every WrestleMania from worst to best. This is all coming up Sunday on nodq.com. So now that I got all the cheap plugs out of the way, let's get back to the recap. We had Reigns backstage, very upset. He told Heyman to get Pearce and sent Jey Uso as well, just in case things needed to get physical. We had our first match. And by the way, Mike, the email is nodqmisc@gmail.com. We had Seth Rollins versus Nakamura, rematch from Fastlane. I get it. These guys work well together. They had a good match at the pay-per-view. They had a good match here, but what was the point of this? Like, Rollins beat him. It was just time filler. We did not need this. I guess we needed Cesaro to run down, but Cesaro should have just run down at Fastlane. They could have shot the angle there. Just filler as far as I'm concerned. It was still a good match, but really served no purpose other than to fill TV time. Rollins was trash talking, saying Nakamura needs to respect him. Nakamura made a comeback, but then Rollins sidestepped the Kinshasa, hit the curb stomp to win, and then continued the attack on Nakamura. Cesaro ran down in street clothes. They had a fight. Cesaro tried to get the swing on Rollins. Rollins escaped. And then backstage, we had Adam Pearce arriving to Roman Reigns' locker room, and Reigns made it clear he is only going to compete one time. One title defense, that's it. Pearce inclined to agree with that, but there are other things to consider, he said, and he will make his decision by the end of the night. So WWE really trying to milk this decision, but I mean, unless you have been living under a rock, pretty much everybody knew what the outcome of this was going to be. We talked about it on the No DQ review. There have been reports all over the internet. I mean, everybody knew going in what the end of this show was going to be. But WWE did what they could to try and pop a rating, and we'll see if the number goes up this week. We had Seth Rollins backstage very angry about Cesaro, saying he's tired of being embarrassed by the failure Cesaro, so he officially challenged Cesaro to a match, and he said he will never be swung by Cesaro again. Cue Cesaro attacking him, doing the big swing backstage, and then accepting the challenge. Anthony says he was in the Thunderdome tonight and Seth Rollins spilled Michael Cole's drink during the commercial break. That was very bad of Seth Rollins to do that, especially if that was a Diet Pepsi, his diet soda. That would not be acceptable. And that's a CM Punk reference for anybody that gets that one. The only thing I did not like about this, when Rollins said he will never be swung again, it shouldn't have happened on this show. When Rollins said that, I'm like, okay, save it for a couple weeks, and then at WrestleMania, Cesaro does the big swing. You build up to that spot, and then Cesaro just did it right there backstage. So it's like, you kind of ruined it. I think you should have saved it for WrestleMania with the fans, Rollins, the next 2 weeks, he keeps avoiding the big swing, and then, fans are anticipating it, and then they get it at WrestleMania. So I think WWE misstepped here with this build-up. We had the Big E, Street Profits versus Otis, Chad Gable, and Apollo 6-man match. Again, time filler. We had Montez Ford doing a big dive onto Otis and Gable, and then back in the ring, Cruz hit the angle slam to Big E and pinned him, so this keeps going on. Big E versus Apollo again at WrestleMania. I would have much preferred for Apollo to win the title and then set up a rematch at WrestleMania, but whatever. We had Edge backstage complaining to Adam Pearce, saying he should be getting the main event one-on-one, and Pearce responded by saying that his job is to get the fans, or get the facts, and consider all of the options. And Edge warned that Pearce better make the right decision or else. Mike B with a $3 super chat says, John Cena spilled CM Punk's diet soda. Glad somebody remembered that reference. And Elon Brown says, how does Apollo get another shot after he lost 6 straight matches? He beat the champion. That's WWE's go-to booking. Have the champion lose a non-title match. And you guys know I hate it. Big E, I guess, has a little bit credibility compared to most champions, but still, it's just lazy booking when you have to do that gimmick where the champion gets pinned by the challenger. It's just so lazy. We had the KO show with special guest Sami Zayn, and Zayn announced that next week there will be a red carpet premiere for the trailer of his documentary that exposes WWE. And Logan Paul, who is this internet YouTube sensation, never watched a video of his in my life, but maybe I should watch his stuff and take notes on how to get more subscribers, but who knows? Logan Paul, anyways, is apparently a big fan of Zayn and will be a special guest next week. Boy, oh boy. To quote Mr. Tito, smell the ratings. So Zayn brought this up and then said he wants an apology. Owens always pretends to be on his side. Owens responded by saying that the only reason Zayn is there is because Owens wanted to challenge him for WrestleMania. And Zayn was like, no, they need to work together. Owens got in his face, and Zayn finally agreed to the match. And then Owens beat the crap out of him, hit the stunner. And you know what? I like the idea of the match. I just feel bad for KO because he went from the Roman Reigns storyline to being in what's probably going to be either the opening match of night 2 or night 1. Either that or it's the kickoff. It's not gonna get a lot of special treatment here, and I'm sure Owens will win the match. It'll be fun though. Those two always have great matches against each other. I just wish they had a little bit better build up for it, and Zayn's basically a comedy wrestler at this point. So, yeah, I guess, they get to wrestle each other at WrestleMania, which is cool and all. And we'll see what they do. But, yeah, I just feel like it's pretty much a given how it's going to go down. We had Bryan backstage talking to Adam Pearce, saying he understands what Pearce is going through because he was the GM at one time, and he says deep down he knows Pearce is going to make the right decision. And All Pearce has to do is make it. We had Bianca Belair cutting a promo backstage and said that if she had attacked Sasha after being slapped at the pay-per-view, Sasha would not have even made it to WrestleMania, and Bianca's mother told her to always be the better person. So that's what she did, and she did it so she can be the better person again at WrestleMania. She had a match against Natalya. Sasha Banks arrived and provided a distraction. Tamina kicked Bianca off the apron, and then after the commercial, Sasha was on commentary talking about how the rookie did not listen to her. Bianca was thrown to the outside of the ring. Sasha got in Bianca's face, and then Bianca responded by giving Sasha a receipt, slapping her as payback from the pay-per-view. Got back in the ring and finished off Natalya with the KOD, the kiss of death. And then afterwards, Sasha jumped Bianca from behind, laid her out with the backstabber, and Thunderdome was booing. So clearly Sasha is back to being a heel. And as Jose Garza says, glad Sasha is a full heel for WrestleMania. I definitely agree on that one. Good segment here. I liked it. We had Edge backstage going into Roman Reigns' locker room and said that Bryan is trying to recreate 2014 and steal their spotlight. And Reigns was advised to use his stroke if he truly has any, because Edge, he could end up beating Daniel Bryan and winning the title without Reigns taking the fall. And, Reigns was very frustrated. And, yeah, this was the setup for the main event segment. We had, before the main event, we had the Dirty Dogs member Dolph Ziggler against Rey Mysterio of the Mysterios. And Ziggler counted a 619 attempt early in the match and sent Rey Mysterio over the ringside barricade. Ziggler then super kicked Dominic for good measure, and then after the commercial break, hit a Fameasser for a near fall. Rude and Dominic ended up getting in the ring. Rey tried to go for a splash to the outside on Rude, but got caught with a zigzag. Stupid baby face, but hey, he did kick out of it, so I guess it could be worse. Mysterio then hit a 619, followed by the splash to pin Ziggler. And then afterwards, Dominic got super kicked by Ziggler to keep this whole storyline going. It was just the typical formula where you got a tag team match you're setting up, you do the singles match, and one of the challengers beats one of the champions. Pretty much the same thing. The champion's losing when the title is not on the line. In this case, it's a singles match. So yeah, it was just filler. We had the announcement of Kane and the Great Khali going into the Hall of Fame. And if you want to know everyone's thoughts on that, make sure you check out the No DQ review, which, by the way, thank you to everybody for tuning in to the No DQ review this week. This was our most watched No DQ review ever. Very big thanks to everybody for checking it out, and watch it if you haven't already, because we had a really good discussion about the triple threat match and the Hall of Fame inductions. So check it out on the YouTube channel. And again, subscribe, turn on notifications if you haven't already, because a lot of content's coming up. 17 straight nights of streaming. It's going to be a marathon for sure. We had our main event segment with everybody in the ring, and Pearce said that everyone's argument makes sense, but in the end, Bryan deserves an opportunity, and Reigns will in fact defend the championship one time in a triple threat match at WrestleMania. Fight broke out with everyone. Reigns hit the Superman punch to Bryan, and then Edge hit a spear to Reigns and Jey Uso, and Edge grabbed the chair, used it on both guys, was going to try to do the concerto, but Jey Uso broke it up. However, Jey got hit with the chair. Reigns escaped, and Bryan was in the ring. Edge was going to finish off Bryan with the concerto, but officials ran down and Pat Buck got hit with a chair. And then Edge just sat in the chair and looked very angry as the show went off the air. Mike B with a $5 super chat says, got a poop question and Google's question for you. So I wanted to end, is Cameron Grimes related to Frank Grimes? Hey, you never know, they could be. But poor Frank Grimes, he just wanted to make something out of his life, and then Homer Simpson had to ruin it. Oh, he said giggles. I thought it was giggles, but you put goggles, and sometimes I just read it as it is on the screen. So, SmackDown was fine, I guess. B-. Really, it was one of those shows. Yeah, they did a decent job setting up some WrestleMania matches, but it was one of those shows I think you could have just gotten away with watching the YouTube clips. There was really nothing that you had to watch live. And, you know, SmackDown tends to move at a pretty fast pace, and it's only 2 hours. But for this show, I'd say watch the YouTube clips. Martin gives it a B-, as does Matt Helms. Mohammed gives it a C+, and Don gives it a C-. Daniel with a C, and Mike B with a B-, and Mr. Heavy Hero Dude with a B+. And TGS says, who wins at WrestleMania? I mean, I think WWE did make it a little bit more unpredictable now. Although even with Edge versus Reigns one-on-one, I still wasn't sure who I was going to go with. And now I'm even more torn. So I guess that's a positive. Keep people guessing as to what's going to happen. And we'll definitely do our predictions coming up soon. The predictions will likely be the Sunday night before WrestleMania, just FYI. And then the Saturday night before TakeOver will be the TakeOver predictions. In the next day or so, I will post a full schedule of the live streams that will be coming up on No DQ's YouTube channel. And Hamp Connor with a $2 super chat says, sorry, I'm here with you. I'm driving home from Texas. Well, thank you for tuning in, Hamp. I very much appreciate it. And thank you all again for tuning in tonight. Thank you for watching the No DQ recap of SmackDown. I will be back soon. Sunday, like I said, the WrestleMania rankings, every WrestleMania from worst to best, coming up on No DQ, and a lot of other stuff. Trivia, No DQ&A, No DQ misc@gmail.com. You can send in questions. Take care, everybody. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you all next time.